Teatro Bravo productions have enriched the Valley theater scene with productions in both English and Spanish, tackling subjects from illegal immigration to humor in an artistic manner. Joining me to talk about Teatro Bravo is Guillermo Reyes, Artistic Director for Teatro Bravo and also Associate Professor in ASU's School of Theater and Film. Professor Reyes, welcome to Horizonte.
Well, thank you for having me.
And what, 10 years now of Teatro Bravo?
Yes, it's been 10 years.
Tell us the inspiration for it.
The inspiration was that I had just come from Los Angeles, where I did this type of theater, neighborhood theater, you might say, a community theater that pertained to the Latino community. And when I came here, there wasn't any such theater, and I thought it was a good, Phoenix was a great place to be able to do that. And my associates, Trino Sandoval at Phoenix College, and a graduate student here, Daniel Enrique Perez, and I decided to make it happen. So we started a theater company. In the year 2000, we did Culture Clash, the play The Bowl of Beings by Culture Clash, and that was a comedy that had a great reception here. And so we started with that, and we have been doing it since.
So you came from a city, Los Angeles, that has a great tradition in Spanish language theater and bilingual theater, to Phoenix, which, as you described, had none, at least at that time. Any surprises? Well, I was surprised that that people came as many as they did. I wasn't sure what to expect. We wanted to be cautiously optimistic, but I think our first show was a great hit, and I think that's what launched us, and I'm glad we were able to do that. I'm not sure I was surprised in any negative way. I think I was just delighted to see that there is an audience for Latino theater and for bilingual theater here in the Valley, and that's something that I was doing before, and I will continue to do as well. Now, you were the only one at the time. Has that changed?
It has, because we've had growth in a lot of community teatros. New Carpet Theater is the one that comes to mind right now, because it was founded by a former student of mine, James Garcia, and he's a playwright as well, and he directs and he acts, and he's doing what I've been preaching. In other words, I like to believe that he learned from me, but he has his own resources as well. He's a very intelligent man, and his wife, Julie, also is a playwright. So they're doing their own thing, and I hope that we work together as a Latino community.
Well, is there anything that makes Spanish language theater or bilingual theater unique, other than the language?
Well, I think that we're dealing with not simply language, but we're dealing with multiple sensibilities. Language obviously affects that, but also there's nationality, there's the way that people interpret their reality. And so when we do a play such as Bloodwedding in Spanish, you're bringing a sensibility from Spain. Bodas de Sangre. We're bringing a sensibility, a poetic sensibility that is very Spanish, influenced by gypsy culture. But then when we're doing a play such as the Women of Juarez, Las Mujeres de Juarez, that play is a very contemporary play about issues that affect the Latino community. And it's, for instance, that play, The Women of Juarez, is an issue that reached a lot of people, but I wouldn't say that my Anglo friends would have known about Women of Juarez if it hadn't been for this play. Then we did it in English, and then it was able to reach that audience as well. So we're dealing with multiplicity of not only languages, but cultures and nationalities, and that, I think, enriches the theater, but it is complex and it is difficult.
Well, and even within one language or within one culture, quite a diversity of offerings. You go from Garcia Lorca, very famous Spanish playwright, to The Women of Juarez, which would be focused on a more contemporary situation. How does that impact the kind of audiences that you attract?
Well, I would say something like Women of Juarez obviously attracts a Mexican or Mexican-American community. Also, women's groups were affected by that. They came in great numbers. But Federico Garcia Lorca attracts, I would say, more of teachers who teach Spanish, for instance. You know, they've gone to the universities where Lorca is the big poet, and they want to bring their students. So we have an educational group, students of Spanish, for instance, Americans learning Spanish, as well as Latinos who are native speakers, and professors. And so it's a different sensibility and a different type of audience.
every play that we do will differ. A play such as well, Places to Touch 'Em was a gay-themed comedy, and so that's a different audience altogether. And so it depends on the play.
Now, you've published a number of your plays. You've got a book with several of them that was published by Trino Sandoval, is that right?
Right there. Yes, Trino Sandoval is the publisher. He's also our executive producer. And these are plays that we have produced, all of them. And so we called it Borders on Stage because they all deal in one way or another with issues of borders, whether it's literally crossing borders or cultural borders that people face.
And some of those borders seem to have or be more difficult to cross. For example, you mentioned a play involving gay actors, or that was the theme. And yet your play, Men on the Verge of an Hispanic Breakdown, the reaction you got in New York was that too much Hispanic, and let's tone that down, and other kinds of issues that might be considered controversial, like homosexuality. That was fine.
Well, in New York it was fine, but apparently the title, Man on the Verge of a Hispanic Breakdown, gave the audience a sense that it was too ethnic, that it wouldn't cross cultures, that some people would be turned off by that. So if they would be turned off more by the ethnicity than by the sexual identity of the themes. And so I thought that was an interesting cultural factor that producers have to consider. But we couldn't change the title because the title is a spoof or a play on words on the film Women on the Verge of a Nervous Breakdown. And in my case, it was Men on the Verge of a Hispanic Breakdown. So if you take that out, you do away with the humor of that.
The entendre. Well, what about some of your more recent works that also have an immigration theme? Los Illegals, not Los Ilegales, Los Illegals. Tell us about that one.
Well, that was a play by Michael Garces, who is a Los Angeles-based playwright, and he works with a community there. He actually used day laborers from that particular community, integrated them into a cast with professional actors. So they all worked together to create this piece about day laborers in California. And when I saw it in Los Angeles, I thought it looked like communities here, only a few blocks away from where I live on 36th and Thomas. We had all these demonstrations outside of Pruitt's furniture store, for instance, both anti and pro-immigration, and you had quite a spectacle there for a while. And that's what the play reminded me of. So when we brought it here, it was for that particular reason, because it felt contemporary.
For that particular reason, did it also resonate with the audiences here?
Definitely. It did very well. And it was a bilingual play, so you had a real interesting challenge in that you had communities, both Spanish-speaking and English-speaking communities, and students who sometimes didn't speak Spanish.
We're almost out of time. I want to make sure we talk about your upcoming production, Little Queen. Tell us about it.
Little Queen is a comedy, and it is one of our most lighthearted comedies, but it still has a lot of the social issues. Teenagers goes to the Oscars. That's a short version of what that's about. But how he gets there and the social obstacles that he has to overcome are an important part of that.
And when will it be out?
May 22nd at the Viad Playhouse in the Park in downtown Phoenix.
And when we talk about a production like that, give us a sense for the size and the complexity of it.
It's got 5 actors, 5 local actors. It's in English in this case. And it's a very intimate play. It's done at the Playhouse in the Park, which only has about 200 seats, so it's a fairly intimate experience. It's a comedy, it's a social realism, and I think that it's a play that can be enjoyed by everybody.
Guillermo Reyes, I'm sure we will enjoy it and look forward to further productions from Teatro Bravo.
All right, thank you.
I'm Jose Cardenas, and thank you for watching from all of us at Horizonte. Good night.